Who am I? I don't want to use a microphone. Can you hear me okay? Or yeah, feels a bit more natural. I'm a walker and talker as well. So although it makes a difference from sitting on the BBC sofa, which is my usual place at the moment. So who am I? That's me. And Jules, my son. And Matt, his dad here. Let me just get the right one. This is going to be the most difficult slide to say. This is my amazing 14-year-old son, Jules, who was at school here. And he was 14 when he died. But he should be here right now sitting his A-levels. And after he died, I have campaigned tirelessly for changes in social media because I strongly believe that it could be something to do with why he's not alive anymore. I don't know that. There was nobody else involved. He took his own life at age 14. I strongly believe it's to do with social media, but I have no rights to see his social media data. And I campaigned for Jules Law. I got 126,033 signatures in 10 days, and we went to Parliament in January. My next step is that on the 15th of May, I'm meeting the Home Office, the Minister of Justice and the Secretary of State. So 3 people, 1 down from the Prime Minister, I think, to see where we go from here. So that's me, but I'm here to tell you about social media. And I skipped past. So social media is all over the news globally. And as you mentioned, I've just come back from New York where 130 US and UK parents met up, bereaved parents, to talk about the dangers of social media. And my job is really just to run through some of the things you may not be aware of. Everybody's talking about it, but it's put it into context about things like physical impact, development impact, mental health. I mean, everybody's talking about mental health, but there's some major points here I just want to run through with you. Don't know why I've got notes here. I'm better without a PowerPoint, really. So when I come to the end, I will take questions, but if you've got questions as I go along, I'm more than happy to be interrupted. Social media is screens and the evidence. This, I think, is a really shocking slide. By the time most children are 8, well, 5 and 7, you've got 96% of children online, which this has come from some health professionals that I'm teamed up with. And by the age of 12, virtually 100% of them are online. So you've got 12-year-olds, and most of them are on apps that are not age appropriate for them. But I also don't think that a lot of the apps are age appropriate, and at 13, an awful lot of children are seeing things they shouldn't be seeing. And that's a discussion that a lot of people are having about whether we increase the age limit. I personally think we should, but there's both counts on what should be done. Fundamentally, there's a design flaw with these products. They shouldn't be showing harmful content to our children. On average, this is what children are spending online. I think anybody with teenagers in the room will probably think, I mean, this is, oh, you can't see the ages. Oh, you can, yeah. So at 15 to 16, they're spending almost 5 hours a day on it. Actually, I think that's under, and I think a lot of people in this room with teenagers will know that a lot of their children are spending considerable amount of time. I can see some nods around the room. But it's really worrying. There was a statistic out actually that most children, teenage children, are doing the equivalent of a part-time job on their phone, being online, which is quite worrying. The average child has 237 notifications a day. And I mean, all of us in the room, I assume, have all got mobiles, but how many times are we looking at our own phone and we pick it up and we get distracted by it? But you've got children doing that throughout the day. I know there's a lot of schools that have phone bans, and I would really push for schools to actually have a proper ban. Sorry, I know there's a teacher in the room for Balcarras, but I'm a firm advocate that I think to ban it during school hours, they get a break. They don't have a phone. And although it is banned at Balcarras, I know full well that Jules was on his phone. In fact, if you're listed as an emergency contact on a mobile phone and it's on silent, if you ring twice, it actually rings again. And Jules very nearly got a detention for me ringing his phone. He was going, Mum, I'm in school, what? But I just think if kids could have a break during school time would be a massive start, a proper break. So this just talks about the amount of times they pick up their phone. And the problem with children is that it goes into the evening as well. Not only does screen affect the amount of times they use it, it affects all these different areas. Sleep is a massive one. A lot of children are staying on their phone late at night when they shouldn't be. I know full well that I always thought Jules's phone was off by 10. We had a ruling he wasn't allowed to use it at 10. Turns out he didn't, and he was on his phone. I wasn't aware of that. He told me adamantly that he was off his phone by 10. I now know he wasn't. And that's my own fault as a parent. Maybe I should have made him keep his phone downstairs or something like that. But it's just to be aware that there's a lot of children staying on their phones until very late at night. And what they may tell their parents may not be the truth. Sorry, Jules. But all these different things, it affects children in all these different areas. And I'll come on to them in a bit more detail. In particular, self-harm is a massive one. Body image, they're seeing harmful content on things like Instagram, TikTok. They're seeing things and relating to it and thinking that that's how they should look or be, and that needs to change. I'm actually party to a committee which feeds into Ofcom. We had a 2-hour meeting with Ofcom today about how we can help to change things and what we can do. And they are working to change things, but I don't think it's coming quick enough, and I don't think there's enough regulation in this area yet. And yeah.
Ellen, sorry, because I know we've spoken about this, I think it's not just phones, it's like their PCs as well.
I 100% agree.
Because
yeah.
I took my phone off my son and then found out he was on his PC talking to people.
I
really
absolutely agree.
night, God knows who.
And I think the focus is on phones at the moment,
Yeah,
but I have raised that.
The PC is a big one, I think.
I have raised that because I know that Jules was using TikTok on his PC, which I didn't know at the time.
Yeah, I didn't even know you could get TikTok on a PC. So, yeah, that's scary.
I think that what people are talking about with the phones is there's an instance in their pocket all the time, and if we could take that away, that's the first start.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree with you, it's got to be across all platforms.
Yeah.
I'm flying through these slides, but I'm aware I've got a lot to get through, and I want to tell you as much information, and I'm more than happy, please interrupt me. Not only this is quite shocking, but the amount of time that children are spending on phones, it is actually affecting their spine. This has come from health professionals. And this is on average, I think it's 60 minutes, are 10 times more likely to develop muscular problems because we're hunched over a phone the whole time. And it's things like that's coming from GPs that are saying this. This is a GP saying it's not just, what they're looking at, it's affecting them physically. Everybody's talking about the mental health crisis, and this is just awful. How many children have having mental health issues? And that has increased drastically. And I think it's got to be, if we're looking at social media, it links in with social media and changing what they're looking at. And I'm so passionate about this, I need to slow down, I'm sorry. I'm talking a bit quick. This is quite an interesting thing. Children often make out to their parents that what they see online is fine and Instagram's fine. Let's watch this.
Thank you. Yeah, listen. This. I don't want to ruin the lipstick. Social media can be good, but it can be bad as well. In terms of her building her confidence, it can build her confidence.
Marjorie's just trying to find herself now, She's not influenced by social media yet.
Most of the influencers that I've seen have definitely had a positive impact on me.
Hey guys, here's a beauty hack I'm obsessed with. I am so happy. Look at how cinched my waist is. Look at how flat my stomach is. It's the shortcut to flawless skin.
You know that Botox doesn't just reduce wrinkles, right? Baby Botox is amazing. You're never too young to start.
That is not me.
There are these great powders. They stop you feeling hungry so you can always skip breakfast and lunch.
And you have to treat yourself to a chemical peel.
They're a total glow up.
They burn away the top layers of your skin and let new skin grow through.
Hey, Amuju. If your teeth are uneven, you can always file them down with a nail file. It's literally so simple.
Your teeth. Don't put up with your thin lips, sweetie. Lip filler kits let you inject yourself at home. They're my total go-to. Fake eyelashes are so easy to glue on. If you cut your eyelashes out,
There's some really great pills you can use.
keep telling yourself you're not hungry, you're just thirsty.
Never look at it again.
Don't get into your skin.
Sexiest life. Botox.
Remember, skinny is never finished.
Ow.
It's
Have you actually seen stuff like that?
yeah. What? This stuff is on every girl's feed. They're watching, right? I mean, at night when I can't see them.
It's scary to me that my kids are watching this and they think that's how they have to look.
I saw one of the teeth filing videos. I remember that one. I remember seeing that all over. I know this stuff. I can't prevent them from seeing these, but I can talk to them about it.
100% always be talking. And have Peyton know that she can always ask me anything.
My mom has taught me not to listen to people like that and to be proud of who I am.
And that's what children are seeing online. Filing your teeth down, cutting your eyelashes off. And actually, what I would encourage you is to talk to children about it. I wish I'd talked to Jules about some of the things I now know about, but I didn't know about them. And if nobody tells you, how are you going to know? But talking about cutting your eyelashes off so you can stick better eyelashes on, I mean, I'm just shocked that our children are seeing things like this online and that's acceptable and we're not doing enough to change it. That needs to change. Eating disorders. It's very common that people are seeing online, particularly girls, but it is across the board. They're looking at body issues and thinking, I need to be this thin. And I actually did this on my Instagram and I looked at a smoothie diet and all of a sudden my thing was, I was just interested on these health things, not that I particularly wanted to lose weight, I was just curious. And then my feed was bombarded with health issues and slimming and diets and fads. And you can actually reset your feed on Instagram, which I'll come on to in a minute. But if children are getting that and then it's being fed to them by algorithms over and over again, it's really harming.
There are increasing links between the use of social media and the onset of eating disorder symptoms in our young. We have seen an extraordinary increase in eating disorder frequency in our young people. Particularly worrying are the findings from a Lancet study recently that showed over a 500% increase in emergency admissions for girls aged 11 to 15 with eating disorder symptoms.
It makes me feel sick. I wish I could switch social media off, quite frankly. The more I have found out about this, the more I'm passionate about it and the more I want to educate you all. So, sorry I'm going through it at speed again. But that's difficult to see, that slide. But this is the increase from 2013 to 2022, from 250 children to 1,846 admitted to hospital for eating disorders. Each additional hour of screen time associated can affect their ability to look at these things and what they're seeing, and again, affect this. Bullying, massive. Bigger problem statistically for girls apparently, but with instant messages, Snapchat, virtually every child's on Snapchat. where you can send a message, it's not saved, it's gone straight away. Bullying is on a massive increase. Snapchat is also rife with sexual predators, paedophiles that can contact your children. If their live location is on, their friends can find them, but so can paedophiles, and it is massive. It's a massive, massive problem. And I really would encourage you to talk to your children about turning off live location, which is really difficult for teenagers because they all want to know where their friends are, but you're not only allowing your friends to see them, but you're allowing paedophiles to follow your children.
Now, ever since the rise of social media sites and children spending more time online, it's not uncommon for self-harm to become something that's a little bit more normalised. There are more images of it around and a little bit more of a sense of it's the young being young. Whilst I disagree with this fundamentally as a clinician, I also feel like the trend I'm seeing that's really alarming me most is how much of self-harm is now becoming almost rooted in not just an individual behaviour and a way of dealing with someone's individual suffering, but also a group-based activity or something that almost has a competitively driven element to it. For example, in my work, I have seen people who have come to me who are saying that they are in groups, whether it be on WhatsApp or Instagram or certain different social media sites, where they are essentially self-harming because they are being peer pressured into doing so, sending photos or videos of their self-harm as a way of almost like performatively driving their social status within that group. There is obviously, in different contexts, different environments, it's done in different ways, but ultimately I'm noticing this is becoming more commonly spoken about in my practice.
Self-harm, it's massive, and people are copying. It's like a craze to follow other kids that are self-harming. I'm coming onto a subject now which is quite sensitive, I'm aware of that, but self-harming can often lead on to a next thing, which is often suicide. Suicide, there's 200 children every year that are lost, school children that are lost to suicide. My son's one of them. I didn't talk to Jules about things on the platform, and I wish I had done. I wish I'd just gone home and had that conversation. And Balcarras, I do a lot of work with Balcarras, which is the prevention of young suicide. And they are adamant that talking about suicide doesn't cause suicide. Talk about it. It's better to have that conversation than not. Suicide is the leading biggest cause of, highest cause of death for children, which is really worrying that we've got children taking their own lives, whether that be for an online challenge, whether that be because they're seeing so much they're depressed or mental health. It's massive. Again, I reiterate, talking about suicide doesn't cause suicide. There's a very good documentary, I think it's on your leaflet, it was called Swiped. There's a friend of mine on this, on the second part of it, Lisa. But Matt and Emma Willis they've followed children through a school, and this is them getting a phone and pretending to be 13-year-olds and what they see.
If they can have TikTok on their devices.
So, Emma and I have been given 2 brand new phones to conduct a mini experiment. We'll be posing as 13-year-old first-time users to see what content we're served.
So to use TikTok, you need to enter your birth date. Right, so this means that they'll see how old you are and customise your experience based on your age, is what they're saying.
Over the next 4 hours, a producer scrolled through both phones as a child might, viewing and saving content, which will have fed an algorithm that then recommends similar videos.
Oh my God. This is a Minecraft video and a 911 recording of a man beating his wife and the daughter screaming for help.
What are you getting?
I'm just getting girls. Oh my God. Does anyone else understand that there is no point in life? What? This is some young girl. I don't make it past 18. I want this song played at my funeral.
Jesus Christ.
If the voices win, just know I love you.
Man, I don't know what to think about this. Like, it just seems so dark.
Not a chance are they having it.
No.
TikTok use that statement a lot. Whenever I'm on TV, they put out some daft statement about how they're doing so much to protect children. Well, they're not, because they're seeing this sort of stuff and they are put their real age in. That's the other thing. Children put fake ages in. I regularly get people pop through on my Facebook and Jules's mates saying happy 46th birthday because they've used the parent's age or something. If you don't put the right age in, you won't get the protection. Not that there's a huge amount of protection, but Instagram and things are looking at teens' account, but they've got to have the right age in first of all. And I think any of you with teenagers, if you go and ask your children what age they're in, and I know this from the forensics on Jules's devices, he wasn't his right age. I didn't know that then. But actually, if you put the age in, when they start doing things or more things, and they need to do a lot more, but when they do a lot more to protect children, at least if they've got their age in right, they're going to fall into that category. Instagram, TikTok, they can actually work out from what they're looking at and what they're searching, what ages they are. They're not doing enough to protect these children at the moment. Oh, is that going to work? Play?
Is it not desperately obvious that if you have 24/7 access to the internet and therefore the entire world of pornography in your pocket, that is going to be problematic?
We are living unsupervised
13.
children who are still in formative years in a Wild West world.
The easy access that children have to violent porn, specifically through their smartphones, is really alarming.
Young people are very vulnerable to the sorts of things that they are seeing, whether that's pornography or social media.
Children are manifesting more and more sexualized behavior, things that we were not used to see. And it's very concerning because you feel that the child is much more exposed to predators.
We don't expect young people to police themselves with alcohol. We don't expect young people to police themselves with drugs. Why do we expect them to police themselves with device use? Why do we expect them to police themselves when it comes to pornography or engaging with sexual content? We've got to the stage where I can't see how we're going to be able to improve things without some measure of legislation.
Younger and younger children are seeing pornography online. Graphic, awful pornography, quite often at the age of 8. By the time they're teenagers, virtually all children have seen pornography and images they shouldn't see. Instant messaging, sharing naked pictures. Now, this is something I told Jules about all the time and say, never put a picture there, don't share it. But I really would have this conversation. I know numerous parents I've now met who've lost their children through sextortion. I had to Google what sextortion was because I didn't know. It's where they're blackmailed into sending a picture, and within an hour and a half, somebody I know, their 17-year-old child who'd shared a picture had taken his own life because he was being blackmailed over an image he shared. And that's a 17-year-old. So when you've got younger kids at like 13 or younger online that risk this, they're not mentally mature enough to deal with it. And if a 17-year-old, 18-year-old, I was just in America, there were plenty of parents who have lost children, older children as well as younger ones, because they've shared an image and then they've been used as blackmail. That I would again talk to your kids about. Knife crime. It's massive, and we live in an area which is, probably, I would have thought we don't have knife crime in Cheltenham. We're a upmarket, we're not middle of, I won't say anything, somewhere else, that perhaps has knife crime problems. It's rife. And I was just talking to somebody in the room earlier who said that actually in Beeches Park, their son had come across knives in the park. It happens in this area. Please don't be naive to think it doesn't. Oh. What's shocking is it's in the increase. And do you know, this really worries me. 10 to 17, 10 to 10-year-old knife crime. When I was 10, I can't even, it wouldn't have even crossed my mind. And I just think it's really worrying. We've got really young people thinking it's cool to carry a knife or whatever. And I remember used to say to Jules, never carry a knife because somebody could use that knife on you. I like to think he didn't. I don't know. But I'm going to come on to something in a minute. I'm about to introduce you to Amanda Stevens, who I know. Amanda and Stuart Stevens campaigned tirelessly, and they've been seen on various news programmes with me, over the death of their son, Ollie.
Ollie was murdered on the 3rd of January 2021. From leaving our house to the point he would have passed was merely 15 minutes. He was lured out of the house by a girl he knew, we knew, and once he was in the park across the road, he was attacked and, let's just say, murdered by 2 boys. Ollie was just 13. The children that did it were 13 and 14. You just think, why is our son dead? Who would have done this to him? What had he done? Why? Data pulled from phones of all involved and other children that had been in conversations with. A picture was pulled together of what had happened. No regard for morals or care. Ollie would have been surrounded by images of knives and seeing that other children were carrying them. We have to make this world a safer place for our children. We have to get back to a time, as we did when we grew up, where you could just be a child and enjoy your childhood. It was enough that you might get bullied or something awful might happen at school, but you could escape from it and come home. I always said, if the social media companies had been in the field that day and saw what had happened to our son, as we saw, they would do something. Surely they would do something. But time and time again, we've seen they completely ignore us, disregard us, and don't care. We need to make them care.
It says Jules Law there, it's from a campaign I was doing last year, but I've been in Parliament countless times with Amanda and Stuart. And we've sat there and confronted TikTok about their videos, and they just don't give a damn. They really don't care. And they had a crime reference number. Obviously, their son was murdered, and social media companies refused to release the information to the parents or the police in that case. And one of the girls, I probably should stop there. But anyway, there was information that was missing from their crime, and they've been pushing to get that information. What shocked me the most, talking to Stuart, and I didn't know this until a couple of months ago, and I was standing talking to Stuart, and I said, you imagine it to be a big machete, all these things you see. It was a vegetable kitchen knife that somebody used to kill their son. And he said, every time I open my kitchen drawer, I look at the vegetable knife and think, somebody used that to kill my son. It's not always the big knives, it's still carrying a knife. Hope I'm not being too depressing, sorry. It's a, I don't know how I make this cheerful, so. This is a particular one to me, challenges. I never discuss challenges with Jules. I don't know, and I think everybody knows from my campaign, I don't know why Jules took his life, but I'm pretty certain that it was a challenge. And I didn't know about various challenges, and so I never talked about it. There are plenty of challenges where kids are encouraged to do things. There was one recently, I raised it in Parliament with TikTok and said, you've got grown adults encouraging people to drop things on their feet. And there were adults dropping microwaves on their feet. And I said, how long is it before a child takes a knife and drops it on their foot to see if it hurts? It was a ridiculous challenge. And actually TikTok said to me, oh yes, we were aware of that yesterday. And I said, well, I put it on my LinkedIn yesterday. It had 35,000 views yesterday to make parents aware. It's still there. It's still there. And even though they said they were removing it, there are plenty of other challenges, blackout challenges, holding your breath challenge. There are lots of challenges. And to talk to children about how dangerous these things are, I wish I had done that, because to this day, and I can't prove it yet, I'm trying, but I think Jules tried something called the blackout challenge. But I'm not the only parent. This is Isaac, and Lisa is on the Swipe programme. She's also one of the parents, along with me, that is suing TikTok in the US. This is her son, Isaac.
You know, looking back at it, perhaps we were naive. We didn't have the discussion about online challenges. It just wasn't the thing, you know. So now, myself and internetmatters.org can give the tools for a parent to be more educated on these platforms. Be challenge aware. Visit internetmatters.org for all your advice and support.
And again, I'd reiterate, talking about these things doesn't cause it. You need to talk about the harmful things that could go wrong. I think if I had talked to Jules, if you try such and such, this could go wrong, you wouldn't have time to get out of it or whatever. I just have those conversations, just like educating a child about crossing the road. You don't let them get to the side of the road when they're little and just go for it, all the best. You know, you educate, you know, when can you cross? When is it safe to cross? Doing all those things with children is vitally important online. Because actually, and keep yourself up to date with these sort of things, because they change all the time. And you know, the dropping things on your feet challenge came out. There'll be another one next week. And actually, at the moment, the craze is going back to the ice bucket challenge, which again sounds fun. Everybody's tipping ice on their people's head. That's where it starts, and that's where children start doing something like that, and then it goes on to something more dangerous. I did some of the challenges with Jules, but harmless ones. We stood on our hands putting a t-shirt on upside down, which was one of the challenges, which I thought was harmless and fun. The next one we did was eat a teaspoon of cinnamon, which is hideous, but apparently you can inhale it and die. I didn't know that at the time, but there are more harmful challenges, and what happens is they start with one and they start doing others, and they start going, well, I've done that one, have you tried this one? Talk to them about some of the challenges they see online aren't, I agree, standing on your head, put your t-shirt on upside down. I just thought it was funny, and I think it's still pretty harmless, but there are a lot that aren't. So talk to your children about this. What can you do? Oh, I think I was, oh, there you go. What can you do to help you? There's lots of good sites, and in the leaflet, there's various sites I've put on there about Internet Matters is one, where they can talk about how you can talk to your children. Limit screen time. Limit screen time is an easy one to say, but I know, having been a parent myself, taking a phone off a teenager is pretty hard work. But trying to do that, or trying to get them to leave the phone downstairs at bedtime, leave it in the hallway charging, don't let them take it up to their room, but trying to get them to have less time on their screens will be a massive start. Making time together without phones. As parents, we often set a really bad example. And I know I used to run my own business and I was busy. I'll just answer this email, you know, Jules, or I'll just come back to you in a minute. Let me just answer this. Actually setting the example as a parent to say, do you know, actually I'm going to turn my phone off. Let's watch a film together without the phone. Because I was bad at that as well. But I think we're all so used to having a phone in our hand that actually having some downtime and going, no, we're not using our phones. We're, all going to go for a walk without the phone. I can imagine the argument. I can't go out the house without my phone. But actually to try and do things like that, which spend some time together as a family, without phone time, without screen, is really important. As I said, keep the phones downstairs. Meal times, I always had a rule with Jules that meal times you weren't allowed your phone at the table. And then one of us would be talking about something and go, should we just Google it? And we go, no, we'll have to do it after dinner. And it became just a thing that, because it's so easy to pick it up when you're talking about something, go, I'll just check that out or something. But just some basic housekeeping, which you can start trying to create some time without it. As I said, bedtimes overnight. For older children, alarm clock. That would be one Jules would say to me, I need my phone. I need to get up in the morning. Alarm clock is a really simple, easy one, and get the phones left downstairs. Physical education is massive for children. A lot of kids aren't having enough physical education as they need because they're too busy sat on their phones. Do you remember the days when we were younger and you'd go around to somebody's house and the way you knew whether people were at the house is their bikes were all outside the house? And I think that's lovely. You don't get that so much these days because everybody is instantly on their phone about where are you, where are we meeting? But to get them to go out the house, it seems so common sense, does it? But just doesn't it? But just to do that is really important. You often see lots of children being handed advice, to settle them down. Watch Peppa Pig before bed or whatever. It starts bad habits at a young age. And so those are the things which we've all done in the night garden or whatever it was when Jules was little, but actually trying to get them to break that habit about using something to settle them down at night, because that sets the habit for as they get older. So for younger children, it's important to do that. That's a really difficult one because I would ban Jules's phone all the time, but trying to avoid it as a punishment so that actually you're using something else as a punishment other than the phones, because the phone is like number one goal. But when your kids are younger, I used to take Jules's toy and put it on top of the fridge because you couldn't reach it. I'm sure I was a bad mother really, but you've got to teach children boundaries and what's acceptable and not, but trying not to use the phone as a punishment. Apparently that's a good idea to do, coming from health professionals. Socialising in real life. These are just pretty obvious slides about what you can do. Keep it in a public place. Goes back to when we had to use the phone and the phone was in the hallway, and if you're standing in the hallway having a conversation without your parents hearing, which is not the case anymore. It's also private and behind closed doors. I missed that one. Turning off auto-scrolling. You can change some of the settings, and in the leaflet, actually I think I'll come to it in a minute. I'm going to skip past a couple of these. I'm going back to that school ban I said earlier, but is a school ban really a ban? I've got a nice leaflet for you, Mark, that I can hand you out about, I printed it ready. But I think, just maybe consider, there will be other people from other schools, consider having a word with your school about phone bans. The problem with schools, and I don't know if Balcarras do this, but a lot of it is online with using their phones and things like that. So they've got to think practically about how they get around that. But there's more and more schools that are actually doing this and trying to move away from using their phones.
It's a discussion we're having at the moment, actually, because...
Sorry, I didn't mean to pick on you.
No, but you're absolutely right, and it's something we're discussing, like with Cahoots and things like that, because we've got some parents who have made a really bold decision, and they've said we're not going to give our children smartphones.
Yeah.
And they've said, can schools support us with this?
Yes.
So it's an ongoing discussion. It's something we're taking really seriously because I think it's such an important thing. And also, we kind of want to honour the fact that they're being brave enough to say, okay, we're doing this.
Yeah.
Let's go along with that as well.
There's a website called the Smartphone Free Childhood, which more and more parents are trying to sign up to and make a pact. So it's not the kid being left out at school without a phone, which parents are coming together and go, no, we're not going to give our child a smartphone. And I think that's a really important one. So, yeah.
So things like Kahoot, all that kind of stuff, just trying to make sure that everyone's got parity in that as well.
I'll stop stop talking about schools now, but yeah.
No, it's great. And it's really important to hear, so it's really good.
I can give you lots of literature. The other idea is more and more people are turning to phones without social media apps. So these are some of the options. I know somebody who's got the light phone, said it's transformed his life. It took him a little while to not have everything available, but some of these are available where you can still ring, you can still text and things like that. From a parent's point of view, I did put it in the leaflet, but a lot of parents know about it. There's something called Life 360, where you can track where your child is without having to use Snapchat or something like that. But it's set within your parental group. So we have that, which would say, Jules has arrived at his dad's house, Jules arrived at my house, or Jules has arrived at school. And quite often, if he goes down the playing field, actually, he'd say, Jules has left school. And I'd message him and go, why have you left school in the day? And he said, it's just the end of the playground. I never worked out if that was true or not, but apparently. But it's worthwhile considering some of these. There's a brilliant website called Internet Matters. You can go onto this website and choose whatever program you want, and it shows you how to set the settings. Because some of these things, I mean, when I got Jules's phone back from the police, I looked at it and went, how the hell do I use Snapchat? And actually I had to get his friend in to go show me how to use Snapchat. I find these things quite difficult, and some of us are more technical. I'm not too bad with technology, but you know, some of these programs are quite difficult.
Isn't that one of the issues, that the children know more than us?
Yes,
They
complete.
outwit us.
Yeah.
I mean, my kids they're not teenagers or anything, but if you ask them to show you something, they do it in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And then you say, slow down, I'm 100 times older than you, but they are so smart.
Yeah.
It's very difficult, and this is the bit that I'm really interested in. How can parents actually know what's going on?
So this, and it's up to date, and the reason I've pointed it to this, because they keep it up to date, because things change all the time. I have a video of Jules, I don't know how old he was, about 7 or 8, and he was on my phone trying to show me how to send a text, and you can, I still don't know how to do it. You hold your finger on it, it sends a big heart emoji up the screen or something, balloons everywhere. And he was showing me how to do it. I still can't remember how to do it now. But they just pick things up really quickly, and that was on just a simple text message. So it goes through all the different things. So it'll talk through, and games, Fortnite, Roblox. I haven't put this in the slide. Roblox, vile game. Everybody thinks it's very safe for children. I went to have my hair done the other day, and the hairdresser gave her phone to the 4-year-old and said, just play those 4 games of Roblox. And I went, you got your 4-year-old playing Roblox. Do you know how dangerous it is? And she went, no, these are safe ones. And I said, Roblox is full of, they can talk to anybody. I was at the rugby at Old Pat's actually with somebody, and the 8-year-old was there. And I said, oh, what games do you play? Knowing full well where I was going in my head. And the 8-year-old said, oh yeah, I play Roblox. I said, do you play with people you don't know? Yeah, but only Lucy. And I said, how old's Lucy? Oh, she's 15. And I said, and I pointed to the guy next to me who's about 60, and I went, he's also Lucy and he's 15. And the dad suddenly looked really shocked. I went, you need to look at the controls. Roblox is vile. There's an awful lot of dangerous stuff, children interacting with people they shouldn't be, paedophiles, games where they've got, just vile. Just look it up. It's vile. So where you've got young children playing Roblox, look up how dangerous it is. It's terrible. But yes, going back to games, Fortnite settings, PlayStation settings, Xbox. I wouldn't even know how to turn on an Xbox, really, I don't think, let alone whether you press the A, B, C, up, down to turn it on, whatever. But it talks you through how to change the settings. Text meaning. I think if anybody's watched Adolescence, I was quite shocked by some of the things that came out. So things like, you can't really see it on here, but if you go to Internet Matters, it explains things like, I don't know, BFF, best friend forever. But there's all sorts of different text speak, which it talks to you about. And some of the things I think, what on earth does that mean? And this I really liked, but was really shocked. And I shared this on my social media. You can't read the images, but things like, so it labels all the emojis into drugs, violence, sex, self-harm, and incel, which again I had to Google after adolescence because I didn't know what incel was. But I thought, God, I've used a snowman probably when it's snowing. Oh, apparently it means cocaine. There's all sorts of things, and what colour heart you use means different things. So text, the way the kids text is quite detailed. But some of it's worthwhile bearing in mind, because I have scrolled through Jules's phone so many times trying to work out what on earth he means on some things, which is standard for teenagers. So the screen issue is real, it's here. At the moment, it's not changing. As I said, I'm involved with Ofcom. I'm involved with making a lot of noise publicly about it. And this is the first talk I've actually given. So sorry, I've got so much information, I've just fired it at you. What it's going to get me emotional again. So my main thing for me is I want the right to see Jules's data, because I don't understand what happened. And for me, my next step is Parliament on the 15th of May, and I'm meeting the Home Office, the Minister of Justice and the Secretary of State to see if I've been successful at all with my Jules Law campaign. Right, that's a bit loud.